Hunters. This is episode 190 of eBay the Right Way. Today's date is November 6th, 2024, and my guest is Carol in Alabama. No announcements this week, and Carol has a lot to say, so we will go straight into the conversation.
Hello, listeners. We have a repeat offender with us this week, Carol, who was on in November of 22. And I've been watching her eBay store blossom. Maybe she's just posting more, but we'll talk all about that. So, how are you this morning, Carol?
I'm doing well. I just transitioned from homeschooling and doing English lessons to talking about eBay. So,
Oh, so this is a welcome break, maybe?
well, in a sense, my kids are happy because they get to watch a show while I'm doing this. So they're very happy.
Okay, that's good. I talked to my CPA this morning, which is always a nerve-wracking thing. So I got that over with for the year and,
That's good.
spent half an hour taking photos of stuff I bought yesterday. So as soon as we're done, I am diving into my pile.
There we go.
Okay, well, let's refresh your information as far as where you're located.
Okay. I'm in South Alabama and I've lived here for about 10 years now.
Okay. Okay, great. And I said you're a repeat guest because I do like to watch how others businesses evolve over the years because we had a little chat before we started recording and you said, yeah, I know a lot more about what to buy and I can be more picky. So before we get into that, I skipped over the part about how you came to eBay. Was there an event that brought you to eBay, or how did all that unfold for you?
So when I was a teenager, my parents had an eBay account. And so I sold a couple things on there and it wasn't serious. And I didn't really make that much money. And then I got married and my husband, his grandparents had done like Amazon. I don't know if they sold on eBay, but he had been inspired, like, hey, they made a lot of money selling on Amazon. I think it was mostly books. And so he was like, oh, maybe we should have an eBay, we should do eBay. And so we did a little bit of eBay. He was kind of the main pusher. And then after I caught the bug, it was like bad. And so he's kind of phased in and out of our reselling. And he's right now he's on, which I think is part of the reason we're doing more sales. So it has helped tremendously that he has different interests. He looks for different things. And I find if we list in a lot of different categories, we always seem to have a category that's hot. Like eBay will start showing shoes, even if my husband's listing like tools, like it'll start, we'll have a cycle of when things are like, I sell a lot of shoes at once, or I'll sell a lot of books at once. Electronic items, that almost comes in like waves, like 2 power supplies in the same day. So
Really? Okay.
yeah, I think it really helps to have a varied store. Now I suppose if I was really to like hone in on one thing, maybe eBay would give me, one thing would come up all the time if I was constantly listing. But the way it works for us is if we list a lot of different things, we seem to have better sales overall.
I see that too. Well, there's two schools of thought. Like one is list your like items at the same time because it's faster. You're in the same category. Some of the item specifics are the same, so it's faster. But I also like to mix it up because I just think the variety does something to the algorithm. So like today, I've got some athletic wear, I've got a handbag, I've got some hats, I have a few collectibles, and it's just like I go into my eBay room and I just pick 10 things and just intuitively like what I'm drawn to that day. Some days, okay, I've got a camera I bought. I'm trying to get into the cameras. So I've got the camera, the flash, the bag, all the stuff with it, the original instructions. I mean, it's a 35 millimeter, but I keep putting it aside because it's like, I don't know this. I'm seeing a friend this weekend and she knows cameras. So I'm going to bring it and be like, can you just look at this and tell me about it? Like, if you think it works or how we can test it or whatever, because I seem to be drawn to things that sell well or that I just like working with. And we all have those, like, I want to try this because I see other people being successful. And then you're a little intimidated. Yes, I'm intimidated too of, I don't really know how to talk about this thing in my listing.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I feel like I feel the same way.
Yeah. So let me ask you, how many items you have in your store?
I think we just broke 1,000 actually
I was
just
going to say,
recently.
you must have a lot of items because you sell a lot of items
Yes.
and a lot of different things.
Yes. So we're at 1,075, and our solds for the last 90 days is 490. So we're just about 50% sell through
Good.
on those things. Yeah, which I'd kind of like it to get a little bit higher, but
Mm-hmm.
um it's pretty constant at that 50% number, just about 50%. Um but yeah, it's been a fun it's definitely been a fun ride getting up to 1,000 listings. But I do feel like if I went back in time, I wouldn't be buying some of these things that I've already bought and are already listed. So in reality, if I got rid of all that like smaller things that really shouldn't have been listed to start with, my over 1,000 would be lower. Let's put it
Mm-hmm.
that way. Um, so we'll see how it goes. My husband picked up some Blu-ray DVDs, and I'm like, not any more DVDs, please, no more.
Do you have a lot
But
of those?
he went through a phase of buying DVDs, and we got them cheap, but they were just so low profit. And I'm just
Mm-hmm.
like, he gets a little irritated because I'm like, oh no. He goes, but these are Blu-rays, these are better. And he's been doing great with them. He really has been doing great. But that's something I wouldn't be purchasing. Like I would just be like, DVDs too much, too low profit. I just can't deal with it. I'll buy some DVDs on occasion if they're like really good. But like sets, if you buy a DVD set, some
Right.
of those um old TV shows, or not even old TV shows, but like from the 90s or 2000s, like
That's old. Yeah. Hey,
yeah, some of those.
I got a kid born in the 90s, two of them. One of them turned 30 this year. So that's
Yeah,
a long time ago from our perspective.
that's true. So but yeah, like the diversity of like what he wants to buy and then what I want to buy, because he would never pick up cross stitch kits. I don't think he'd ever pick those up. And that's just been like, that has been so good. And when I posted on your group saying, should I buy this lot on Facebook? And I'm
I saw that. Yes.
looking back now, I would have been like, yes, absolutely. I'll buy the whole thing. Like now I know a little bit more. So I'm on the lookout for, especially for those, I think it's called Mirabella patterns,
Yes.
especially.
There's a few of those that are really high dollar.
Those are fantastic. I so the original lot that I bought on Facebook, she sold them to me for about $1 a pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't buy all the floss. I didn't buy all the beads that went with it. I just bought the patterns. And then that was probably 6 months or more ago. And I was coming home from Walmart the other day and I saw a yard sale sign and I followed it. And it was the same lady. I don't know if she recognized me or not, but I'm pretty sure I was the first person there. And I said, the lady, I think it was her daughter running the sale, said, are you looking for anything in particular? And I'm like, have you got any like craft items, fabric? Because I'm always looking for fabric. And she's like, oh, I've got some in this box, you know, cross stitch patterns. And I'm like, okay. I started looking through. I'm like, oh my, like this is more of that same lot that she held back. So she didn't put all of them in that lot originally. And so I said, how much are the patterns? She said $3 each. And I'm like, okay. I looked through and I found the second one of the high dollar patterns. So because I've been looking, you know, which ones are the good ones. I sold Lady Liberty, which was like 300, and she had Lady of Freedom, which I think is the next one, and that was in that box. And I'm like, okay, how much for the whole box? Because I'm pretty sure I can make all my money back and more on just that one pattern. And she said $40 for the whole box, and it had some like random coaster supplies for cross stitch. So I took those out. I said, how much if I don't want these? She said 30. I'm like, okay. And then I was hoping, because I wasn't thinking I was going to a yard sale, hoping I had $30 in my pocket. And I did. Thankfully, I had just a little bit over 30. I'm like, oh, so wonderful. So, and before I left her apartment complex, I just confirmed and comped that last lady for freedom. And it was like really good. I'm like, I was so thankful. I was thrilled. I forgot to go to the post office on the way home because I was so excited.
You couldn't wait to get home and list it.
I couldn't wait to get home. I was like, I forgot about going to the post office. So this has
Yeah,
been fun.
that's focus right there. So how long have you been married?
I've been married for, I think it's 13 years.
Okay, so you guys know each other well, and you can you,
Yeah.
you can be like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know that we want to sell that. That's a great idea, but I'm not feeling it, or
Right. I think being honest with each other is important. I do think I should be more supportive because he's like, you need to be more supportive. And I do need to be a little more supportive because most of the time it's good. And also I do make mistakes too. Like I buy things that are dumb. And I do appreciate the grace that he gives me when, he's usually very encouraging. So I could do better.
Well, don't say that you buy things that are dumb.
Well,
Just
yeah,
like hindsight's 2020. You may have been like,
that's true.
yeah, somebody's gonna want this, and you're feeling it when you buy it, and then over time, it's like, yeah,
Yeah, it's
I was a little misguided on that, but that's okay.
true.
It
Yeah. It
happens.
maybe not dumb, but more like um ones that maybe I didn't comp out, that I didn't have
Right.
enough information on. I was like, okay, well, usually if something's cheap enough, I'll take a gamble. Um, like that Barbie doll that I sold, it was 50 cents. And I'm like, it might just be a $10 Barbie doll or a $15 Barbie doll, but it was a $100 Barbie doll.
Really?
And I didn't know. I'm like, well, 50 cents, I'll give it a try for 50 cents. So sometimes, if it's cheap enough and it works out.
What was special about her? Just she was old?
It was, so I looked on the back. She was at a thrift store and she had a bag over her, but she was just in the cart with everything else. She wasn't in a special spot. And um I looked on her backside and it has like 1966. I'm like, oh, that's pretty old. Isn't that like really old?
Yeah, that's the year I was born. So it is
Okay.
old.
Well,
Be
for a Barbie
careful
doll. For a
now.
Barbie doll. For a Barbie doll. Like that's pretty old for a Barbie doll. So
Yes, it is. It is.
and the hair was in super good shape. She didn't really have any like green like stuff coming out of her ears. There was no bite marks. Like there's a little bit of mark on her leg, but she was in really good shape. I'm like, she might only be a $10, $15, but 50 cents.
Mhm.
Even marked 10, I might have passed, which is funny. Think looking back, because I should have bought her for 10, but sometimes that cheap price will just draw you in. Then you buy too much sometimes because it's so cheap.
Right, right. Well, that's the luxury of the time and space of our business is, okay, so I'm going to buy this sealed bag of a bunch of stuff, and I see a couple things in there.
Hmm.
I'm not the customer that opens the bag and looks through it. I just respect that they bag this up,
Yep.
and I'll see a couple things, and the whole bag is $2. And then
Right.
then you get home and you go through it, and you can leisurely take your time looking everything up. And it seems like every time, whether it's an online auction box lot of a bunch of stuff, or a bag at a thrift store full of stuff, there's always things in that are surprises, like, oh, can't believe this
Yes.
is in here. I found a Lalique dragon one time. It was a little glass red dragon, and it was in a bag that I was buying for some ceramic measuring spoons. They were just really pretty, and I'm like, oh, I can probably get 25 for those.
Yeah.
That dragon was in there, and it sold for 80.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's just,
That's
and we're
amazing.
lured in by like the mystery of what's in there. And sometimes it's great stuff. Sometimes it's wadded up Kleenexes and a spider. It's just it's okay, next.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So are you
Yeah.
more of a yard sale, estate sale, thrift store person? When you get your stuff?
I'm trying to be more diversified. Our yard sale season is like spring and fall because it's a little bit too cold in the winter for people to come out, and the summer is brutally hot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So So we basically have that we have yard sale season, which is spring, winter, or fall, and we're kind of like geared up. There's going to be a lot coming in soon. Like, so I'm more of a yard sale person right now. But the thrift stores, they're there year round. And if you're consistent enough, I think the key to at least my thrift stores is being consistent. And you got to go like every day or every other day. You got to find a time of when they might be putting stuff out, or just, find that rhythm of, and things change too. It's not like it's just, stagnant, because management changes and employees change. And right now, one of our thrift stores will close early because they don't have enough people. So I've got to kind of like change up my thinking. I got to get there before they close.
Yeah, those are fun. I used to go to a church thrift store in Atlanta, and they had weird hours and weird days, and it's like they kept changing it. And so I go one day, I'm thinking they're open. They don't have a Facebook page with their hours or anything, because it depends on who can work. And so I go, nobody in the parking lot, big sign on the door, closed until 2 o'clock because Steve has a dentist appointment. And it's like, then somebody asked me, have you ever been to such and such thrift store? And I'm like, yeah, and their hours are weird. And it's usually open this to this, unless Steve has to go to the dentist. They open late. But
Well,
those are the best, because the people working in those little, maybe one location church or charity thrift stores, they just love to be in there working. That's their interaction. They are not really that knowledgeable about what they're selling. They're just the ladies at the cash register. They're just visiting, and they're like, oh, can I help you? And yeah, I'll take this 50-cent item I can sell for $80, please.
Yes.
They don't know. Right. They don't care. They're just in there for their fun job, which I would love to do that one day. Just be the thrift store person, because it would just be fun. Yeah,
I know. I have told my husband, I said, we should open a thrift store. He's like, no, I don't want to deal with it. But that to me, it would be so fun. But also, you'd have to think about so much management and so much time you'd put into being in person. Would that affect your eBay business? Like how much would you be sacrificing? And you couldn't go outsourcing maybe, or everybody be bringing you stuff. But what if you're dealing with customers so much, or organizing and making it presentable, that you couldn't spend a lot of time on your eBay? So there is that thought. But I do agree with you.
Jane, who was on the podcast, she has her own thrift store, and people just donate stuff all the time, and they know she resells it, and they're like helping her. They know they're helping her. It's a small community, and want to help. And another one, Shelly Carpenter, either they owned the thrift store or they managed it, but same thing, like and also sell on eBay. And then there's a few other people that I can't think of.
I need to go back and listen to those podcasts, because it'd be interesting to see their balance of how it affects. But at this point, I have 6 children, and we homeschool. We homeschool, so I'm very busy already. So a thrift store on top of that and eBay would be almost impossible.
How old are your children? What age range?
My oldest is 12, and my youngest just turned 1 in July.
Okay, so once it's like farming. Once those kids get big enough, then they can help in the thrift store.
Oh, I know. I'm excited about. We're supposed to be getting a Goodwill bins in our town.
Oh,
so we will see how that goes. But I'm like, my husband was a little bit worried. He's like, you're going to be gone for like hours. I'm like, no, we're all going to go. We could all go. And if you have, a couple people that are on your team, so to speak, you could probably find some cool stuff, have a little bit of an advantage to have more people, hunting.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I don't think the sense of urgency at the bins is what it was years ago. You go in and you feel like you only have a few seconds because everybody's going to be grabbing stuff, and you're going to miss it because everybody's going to be getting the good stuff. And I did not have that experience the few times I went. It was pretty laid back. Sometimes there was hardly anybody in there. And you can recognize other resellers, and they're friendly. Nobody really felt like threatened that there were other resellers. Now, if at the new ones, as soon as they open, maybe give it 2 or 3 weeks to settle down before you go, because
Right.
opening week could be a madhouse. But
It could be
um,
crazy. But I'm thinking also I've been to locations, Goodwill locations within like about an hour away on each side of me, and they have not been great. Like I would not go out of my way to go to these bins.
uh-huh.
So some of them, it's yet to be seen if this is going to be a productive bin, or if it's going to be kind of, I don't know, too
Yeah,
small. It all depends. I think also the ones in the bigger cities that are like those tend to be mobbed. That from what I understand,
right.
what I've
Yeah, I
seen.
can see that. It
Yeah.
depends on the population in the area. Um,
Yes, I think it's going
and
to
it also
depend.
depends on when you go,
Hmm.
like different times of day, when they put the stuff out. Do they just put it out once and leave it there for a week, or are they changing it out every day? And, the
Right.
dynamic of the specific location.
Yes. We'll have to find the rhythm and see what, it's the opening is not for another year, I think. So we have a little time to, you know, think about how good it could be.
Yeah. Well, at least explore it, and if
Oh,
you don't
sure.
like it, then that's fine. You don't have to love
Right. Well,
it.
that's the beauty about eBay. You can source at a estate sale. You can go to the thrift store. You can, go to yard sales. The estate sales, I feel like it takes a little bit more skill to source at estate sales, because I feel like you have to know a little bit more because they ask a little bit more. And so if you're
Hmm.
going to be paying up, you kind of have to know what your profit margin is going to be. So, um,
Yeah. And I've learned that doing these online auctions, I will, find them, and maybe they don't close out for a week. And so
mm,
I'll watch certain items, and then I'll
mm,
research them, and then figure out my
mhm,
top price. Like, how much will I pay for that? And
right.
I write it all down. So when it's time, I like to go in when the bidding is about to close, and post my bid, because I don't want to
Don't
drive
sh-
up the price. And then if you
yes.
are bidding and you're outbid, you get an email at that moment. You have been outbid on this item. So if you do it right at the end, you have a better chance of winning. Same thing on eBay.
Right. I think they used to call it sniping on eBay.
Yes. And you could,
Yes. Yeah.
yes, I still do that on eBay to buy things to flip. But there's no way to do that on these online auctions.
Mm,
And then you can't leave feedback, and it's a different animal. But
yeah.
I tell you what, even if you don't buy anything, you sure learn a lot looking through all this stuff.
Right.
And you can do it
Right.
at home on your couch in the evenings or whenever. Just it's free education. Like, what
Oh,
is,
yeah.
and you will see stuff you have never seen or heard of. I'm like, what is that thing? And I'll look
Right.
it up. Oh,
Right.
that's a cigar cutter. Or
Hmm.
just, like, I've never seen that. Nobody around me ever smokes cigars. I don't know what that
Right.
is.
Right. The amount of stuff out there is incredible. It's
Yes,
incredible.
it is. It's so much abundance. And, when you get to feeling bad about yourself, like, oh, nothing sold in 2 days. And, but you have access to all this stuff out there that you can learn on and actually sell. And you have to change your mindset. Okay, nobody's buying right now. That's okay. I have watchers
Hmm.
on things. I'm getting views on my items. Maybe they don't have the money yet.
Yeah.
Maybe this thing, somebody else has it and it's going to break tomorrow, and they're going to need another one, or their kid's going to lose their lovey. They're going to throw it out the window on the highway. All those things, like,
I know.
you're waiting for the event to happen for the person to need to buy the item. That's just
Right.
the zone I
Right.
get in.
Well,
So
I think it's also, you emphasize like if it's not listed, it can't sell, which is true. And I think, it might have been, I'm guessing 5 years ago, I got this item and I listed it and it didn't sell. I'm like, okay. And somehow the eBay will drop off your listings too. Like, I don't think I delisted. I think it dropped off. And so I was looking on my shelf of death pile. I'm like, I got to do something. Let's just pick one thing. I picked that one thing off the shelf. I listed it and it sold like within a week. And the lady left me feedback. I've been looking for one of these, and it's been on my shelf for probably 5 years.
right, like, I've had this for you. How come you didn't find it?
Yeah,
Oh, it
so
wasn't listed.
it wasn't listed. And so I was encouraged. I'm like, you know what? even this, it seemed kind of insignificant item too. It wasn't like, a really high dollar thing. So it felt good to be getting it out of my pile and into someone's hands. It was going to be it was going to be useful to somebody.
Yeah. Do you take inventory?
Um, on occasion, I'll go through and I'll be like, I'll look at the thing in the box, like, is this listed? I'll search it. And if it's not listed, I'll be like, oh, it's not listed. I don't do
Right.
a thorough listing, but sometimes I'll just look in a box. I'll be like, hey, that hasn't moved. Let's see if it's still listed.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Or I
but
used to get offers on this all the time and I'm not getting offers anymore. What's happened? Is it still there?
yeah,
No judgment with 6 kids, homeschooling and eBay, you've got your hands full, but I do it twice a year. I'll just take a tub at a time and go through it. And I always find things that aren't listed. And so it's kind of
yeah,
like free inventory. Yeah, you already paid for it or whatever,
right.
but oh, let me list that. Yeah. And it's like,
Yeah.
where do these go? This has been a glitch forever. As long as they've had good till canceled, this has been an issue
Yeah.
with listings disappearing.
Right. It is a little frustrating, but it's also thinking about you want to boost your algorithm and you want to list some new stuff. There you go.
There you go. It's new stuff again. The old has become new again.
Yes, for
Well,
sure.
let's talk about some more things that you've sold because you are just killing it. Like on the Money Making Mondays, I'm always like, well, what
Oh,
did Carol sell this week?
well, let's see. I do have a sad story about the boots because my boots.
Oh, the $1,400 boot.
Yes, I do have a sad story, but I mean, I have them back and they're listed again. But
I tried to make that the cover slide of that video,
oh,
the $100, and I couldn't make it look right. And just with the
that's
boots,
okay.
they were kind of awkward to photograph, I'm
Oh
sure, because
yeah.
they're so
Oh
tall.
yeah. They were super tall, very tall. And it's funny, so I bought those in Marketplace for $30 and the guy that listed them, or the lady that listed them, she had other boots for sale too. But those were like the amazing boots. So I traveled like 45 minutes to go pick those up. Um and I went back later and bought the rest of the collection of boots, but they sat on my wall. Those long boots sat on my death pile for like, I want to say like a year or two, because I was worried about, I don't know how to find the size on this boot because it
Mhm.
was so tall. I'm like, what if I can't find the size? I was discouraged about selling them, which is ridiculous. But I was discouraged. I'm like, I don't know if I can find the size. So as I started researching them, I was looking at other boots and I found where their size tag was. I'm like, oh, I was I looked at my pair and sure enough, the size was not hidden. I thought it was like an unmarked pair of boots because they were so
Okay.
unique. They were so unique. I'm like, I'm gonna have to measure these things, and I don't know how to get the tape measure in there. It seemed complicated to me, and it really wasn't. So just sitting down like for 15 minutes and just kind of like thinking about it probably would have been better for me. But they sold like I think it was 9 days for like 1,400. And about 2 weeks after the sale, he sent me a message saying they didn't fit. And I was a little bit like, he sold boots himself. Like I went back and checked his thing. So I was kind of like, did he expect to resell them? Did he have a customer that he was buying them for and they didn't fit them? I don't know. I took the return. I mean, I take returns. So he just returned them and we have them listed again. So we can make another terrific sale.
Yeah, you might get more this time. Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
So
So
can you tell the listeners what they were?
oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. They were a super tall pair of Wesco. I think the brand was Wesco.
And I've never
Or
heard of
like
that brand. Is that
it
like German or specialty or something?
I don't think it's super special. Let me look it up. But I do know that that particular brand does make them to order. So if you buy a pair of boots just like the ones I sold, they were super tall, like 32-inch from like the heel to the top. It was very, very tall. And if you order them from the company, I think there's like a year wait and they're $1,600.
Okay.
So they're not like you can just go to Walmart or even just order them online and get them delivered quickly. It
So
takes a
they were
while.
brown leather lace up and they were
Okay.
like all the way up to the hip almost.
Yes, I'll read you the list. It says so Westco Jobmaster biker linesman boots and extra tall. So 32-inch long. And yeah, it was a
So
little bit
I thought
disappointing.
those would be great for cosplay,
Yeah.
these conventions like steampunk, um, just
Yeah,
any of those aesthetics where people dress up and go to these conventions. I was like, that could be for a lot of things.
it could be. I do think that they also bikers will wear them.
Right, exactly.
Yes, bikers will wear them. So I think that's kind of like it crosses up into different categories of use. But
Yes.
so it was super exciting to sell them, but we will get to sell them again.
You will see. Oh, a boomerang item. It comes back.
I know, but
That's okay. Maybe you'll make more next time.
that's right. We're not worried about it. And it is what it is. You gotta My husband is much more easy to like, oh, it's okay. Like you'll be fine, but um it's all good.
So, okay, we got that sale. What else
Yep.
have you posted lately?
Oh, let's
Not
see.
posted, just sold, because you only get 5 a week on that money making money.
Yes.
So you're probably
So
not posting everything.
right. I try to pick out the more like the fast sellers that go on there, or the ones that I'm really happy that it's gone, maybe. Um, so I'll probably be posting this one on Monday. Um, this kind of relates to how you source. It's a distortion pedal for a guitar. I paid $3 for it at a yard sale just this past Saturday. And as I was looking at her stuff, I was like, I got the feeling that it wasn't their stuff, or maybe they were just unloading a lot of stuff. And so I mentioned to her, I said, do you have any, I think maybe she asked, are you looking for anything in particular? And I said, well, fabric, craft items. And then she showed me where that was in her piles. And then I'm like, um, do you have any more that you're going to be selling later? So I left her my number, trying to see, because some of the stuff was valuable. She was just kind of throwing out there. So she said, oh, I don't want to throw it out. So I'm going to, so I'd like someone to take it. Because she was starting to give me stuff. She was starting like, oh, here, you can just take this. And I'm like, man, like, so I left her my number and name, and maybe she'll get back to me with more stuff. She's going through like 3 generations worth of stuff. She said she might sell it herself on eBay, but she goes, I don't want to deal with shipping it. And I told her up front, I can't give you eBay prices. And she said, oh yeah, I understand. That's fine. So I'm hoping that she sends me a text and there will be more from her um, estate cleanout that she's working on. She said her parents were antique dealers, and her
Oh,
her
okay.
her garage was full of boxes.
Oh
Her
my
garage was
God.
like, I'm excited to hopefully she will contact
Yes,
me,
excellent.
because even times when people think it's no good, like she's like, I don't want to just throw this stuff out. And a lot of times people think it's just an old book, or it's just an old, like it doesn't look like it has value. It's not an Apple product that looks
Well,
like
and it's
it's
the
new.
overwhelm. It's the overwhelm
Yes.
feel on all these different levels. Like it's so much stuff.
Yes.
They don't know how to sell it.
Yeah.
They, it might be a personal emotional connection where it's hard for them to figure out a value because it's so meaningful to them. They
Oh,
can't separate their emotions from the market price. Oh,
yes.
and I got into that when doing consignment and collectibles for people, and they're like, oh no, this was my mother's, and this, blah, 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 blah. And this sat on our kitchen counter for decades. And I know it's worth at least $1,000. And you look it up and it's, maybe 200. And
Right.
you become the bad guy delivering the bad news. Well, I understand it's very important to you, but this is the market value. Yeah, that's any,
Yes.
your home, your car, whatever. But
Right.
who is it? Carlos, the mailman. He
Mm-hmm.
says he offers 20% of his projected eBay selling price. And he just offers, and he's like, I don't mean to insult you, but this is what
Mm-hmm.
I can pay because I'm going to have to do the work. I'm taking the risk. I'm going to have to ship it. It may not sell for a year or 2 or 7 or whatever.
Yes.
So,
Yes. Or
and
you might get it returned.
That's right. It might sell and come back, and you got to deal with
Yeah.
that. So,
Yeah.
do you have a strategy for what you're going to offer?
Um, I'm hoping between maybe 10 and 20% as well. But it also depends. Like if she's like, I just want to get rid of this box of stuff, I could give it to you, and part of me is like, I want to pay her for even if she's going to give it to me, in a
Mm-hmm.
sense, to build that relationship that she trusts that I'm going to be fair with her too. But part of me is like, if she's just throwing a box out, like I'll take anything you're throwing out. I kind of brought it up like that. I'll take anything you're just going to like toss out. Because a lot
Mm-hmm.
of time the value is sitting in these other things, the things that people think are super valuable. Like you said, the market has changed and it's not
The
as,
value
yeah,
is on that, airline ticket from 1957,
right.
Pan Am Airlines that doesn't exist, and they don't know. They don't know. They
Yeah.
think the Waterford Crystal and the, English teacups is where it's at, which it may be, but that ephemera
Uh,
is just,
yeah.
what is it? It was on the Money Making Mondays. It might have been KC sold like a badge or something for a convention, like DEF
Mm.
CON. And this little pin or badge or whatever it was sold for $200.
It's crazy. It's,
Like,
it's, it's good, but it's crazy.
yeah, and just, ticket stubs and all this paper stuff, that's what I would love to find on these either online auctions or estate sale or whatever, and just like a big goldfish bowl of ticket stubs from whatever, because
Right.
have the old advertising on the back.
It's true.
And
It's
times
true.
have changed, and the way we used to buy tickets, stand outside the record store, camp out overnight to get your tickets. And
Right.
those are if you went to the 1980 REO Speedwagon concert, like, you remember how you got the tickets and the concert and all the stuff about the concert, and it's
Oh,
nostalgia. It's even it's
yes.
just a piece of paper, but you can pick it up and look at it whenever you want.
Right. Right. I think people have feelings attached to that stuff, or it brings up good feelings
I
for
mean, it could
sure.
be
Yeah.
anything.
Yep.
My gymnastics team performed at the 1982 World's Fair in Knoxville, and I have
Oh,
all
wow.
this stuff saved. From that experience. It was
That
great.
is
And it wasn't a meet. We weren't judged. We were performing, so it was a completely different feeling.
right.
And so I have all that stuff saved. It's not really worth anything. Some of the World's Fair stuff is from different World's Fairs, depending, but
Right.
I think I'm just going to keep it because I like to look at my scrapbook and remember, yeah, that was
Oh,
one of the
yeah.
things I ever did in my life.
For sure. For sure.
We
I
have
think so,
fallen down, yeah, memory lane. Let's get back on
for
track here.
sure. I do some of the sales that have been coming that I have not been posting as many. I've been getting fabric. I've been doing more fabric sales. One of the thrift stores had a great deal on fabric, and I would go back. I would check maybe like twice a day to see if they put out new fabric because it was just a great deal, and the stuff they were putting out was sellable. So I've been, and also this is not quite eBay related, but looking into selling on the um, Facebook destashing groups. I haven't done any of that yet, but the stuff that does not sell on eBay, because name brand fabric will do pretty well. If you've got like Disney characters, or this particular one was Scooby-Doo,
Mm-hmm.
that fabric is done really good. So I haven't,
Somebody said the other day, I don't even know where I heard this. I think I was in a thrift store and heard people talking, and I always like listen up because they could have good information. Um,
yes.
but it was a like 20-ish, and then her mom, and they were shopping, and the mom was like, "Oh, um, what about this?" It was sewing stuff or something, and she's like, "Oh, mom, nobody sews anymore. Everybody just buys stuff already made." And I was like, "Oh no, all these younger ones getting into knitting and crochet because it's a
Yeah.
meditative, soothing activity, and you can make really cool things, and it's not that hard, and you can do it anywhere,
Hmm.
all that." And I thought,
Yep.
huh. And the mom was like, "Oh, that's ridiculous. People will always sew."
I would tend to agree with that. That people will always want to create.
Well, it's a creative
Yeah.
process. Yeah. And
Yeah.
if you're in
I
that world and have patience to do it.
Right. I do feel like the as I've been looking at fabric and like deciding what's going to be sellable or not, um, there are certain things that kind of go out of style. So you have to be aware of like not all fabric is valuable, um, at least what you think it could be, because some of it's just out of style. Some of it is nostalgic and it's valuable for the nostalgic, purpose, but it's not, um, you have to be willing to let that go for the stuff is just kind of out of style. Like people are not looking for it actively. There might be one or two grandmas out there that need that to finish their quilt, maybe, but there's some fabric that has a very small window
Well, I got that
of
Daisy
that.
Kingdom fabric on my BOLO list.
Yeah, the Daisy Kingdom is good.
And
That's good.
Waverly from the 90s. Everybody had the Waverly
Yes. Mm-hmm.
drapes, curtains, and pillows, and
Yes.
that's a good one.
Yeah. One downside to fabric is it tends to be, for me at least, a little bit slow. Like it's not doesn't always just sell right like that. But the storage is can be an issue because I've got tubs of storage now, extra tubs I need
Yeah,
to
it
make
does take
room.
up room. And if it's those big bolts, that's a little heavy.
Yeah. So I've got stuff that's kind of like seeping out of the eBay room now. That's kind of my issue. I've got to sell out of that eBay room so I can make room for all the fabulous new stuff.
That's called inventory creep.
Yeah, it's
Kind of
creeping, and
creeps up on you, and then it goes into another room, and this closet over here.
right. Well, so when we expanded to having 6 kids, we had to give up our extra, like we had an extra room that we could kind of throw things in. So that room is now bedroom, and we need that for bedroom. So I'm kind of like we have to rearrange a little bit of where the creep can go before it has to
Right.
go back in the eBay room.
But I mean, if you think about it, it's an investment.
That's
That
true.
thing
Yes.
is going to sell and bring many dollars
Hmm.
with it.
Yes. Yes. Another good buy that I had, which I think I have posted on Money Making Monday, are the watches. So
Yes.
I bought like $230 worth of watches at that one store, and I was at the store, doing comps. I'm like, this is like a $40 watch. I'm like, this is like a $40 watch, and I kept, just throwing them in the cart. And looking back, I was like, why didn't I just buy all of them? Why was I just buy all of them?
I saw
I
that and I was like, wow, she's brave for buying that many. I don't know if
yeah.
I
Well, see,
I would be that brave.
in retrospect, because they're selling okay, they're a little bit slow, but they're selling, and I still have plenty to sell. But I'm like, they're brand new items. I don't have to clean them. I just have to
Yes.
take a picture, and they have barcodes. I could just scan them, and it pulls up the comps, and it's very simple. So, in retrospect, I probably would have bought all of them. But part of me is a little bit like the lady at the register is probably wondering what I was doing with, 60 watches. And I think it shouldn't be like an embarrassing point, but like when you buy a big bunch of something, you kind of like think someone's looking at you like, what are they going to do with all those? And what if they think you're a reseller?
Well, who cares? I'm on board with if you can sell repeatables,
Oh yeah, yeah.
list
I
at
feel
one time, and maybe all those watches were different, but
they were slightly different. There was probably my most repeat was probably 7. So there was a fair variety of different watches, but I think it's not being ashamed of being a reseller is important, and taking a little bit like I do work, I do research, I have this knowledge, and I'm willing to put in the work to ship it, to take care of my customers and give them a deal. Because a lot of the time they're trying to look for a deal, are the customers, and they can't be at that yard sale. And they'd be happy to give you $30, even though you only paid 2,
right,
so
they don't need to know
yeah.
what you paid.
Oh
You know,
yeah, but I think
um,
we shouldn't feel ashamed. I should not be,
no, you should
worried about
not.
it.
And it sounds like you are very good at time management, again, with 6 kids and homeschooling and everything you do, and 1-year-old and probably a toddler too.
Hmm.
And it's funny that you said that, because I was out yesterday and somebody texted me. I was looking up something, so that popped up on my phone.
Hmm.
I didn't even read what they said. I just said, I'm working now. I'll get back to you later. Because, I'm in the zone. I'm at the thrift store. I'm focused.
Hmm.
Whatever it is can wait.
Yep.
I don't know of anything that was so urgent that I had to answer that right away. So
Right.
I think that's very important that you treat this like a business.
Right. Treat it like a job and be responsible. And I think that's how you grow too. That's how you're going to grow your store, by treating it like a job. If you treat it as a side hobby, it can work like that. And that's the beauty. You can make it just a hobby to sell once in a while.
Do what makes you happy, but remember,
Yeah,
whatever you focus on grows, whether
exactly.
it's positive or negative.
It's
It's
true.
going to get bigger if you focus on it.
That's
So
true. And I do also like the people that you hang out with, you become more like those people. So if you're hanging out with people, maybe if it's just online and you're getting ideas from people, you're seeing their what solds, it encourages you to go out and find stuff. And, if they can find it, I probably could find something too. So,
that is key right there. I look at
hmm
the successful people on our group, and if they can do it, I can do it.
yeah,
If they can do
yeah,
it, other people can. It's been done, so it can be done. It's not
definitely.
like, going to Jupiter in a spaceship. That's not been done.
Right.
But this
Yeah.
reselling, that's been done, and people do it every day.
Right. And I do also like the thought of, oh, my thrift stores are terrible. They may not always be terrible. You need to go back and check. One of my thrift stores has dried up, and it's been dry. It was dry for about a year. I'm like, I'm not going to spend my time going back to this dry well over and over again. It's just not worth my time. So a new location, not a new store, but they started getting better prices. I'm like, I'm just going to spend my time there. So I do feel like over the years, the shift of like where the deals are will shift. It'll just keep changing, and you have to be flexible, because this is not like we're dealing with Walmart and they're always going to have stock. Like, you have to, you know, management changes, things change.
Yeah, and I
So
think what you said about your store drying up, that could happen for any number of reasons.
yes,
Donations are
yeah,
down, change of
yeah,
management, whatever, not
yep,
enough employees to put the stuff out.
mm-hmm,
But you can't, listeners, please don't think that you're at a place, you're not finding good stuff. Maybe you're not selling a lot of items, like it's over, eBay's over, I'm done. No, change something.
oh yeah.
Go
There's
after
so many.
something else.
There are so many opportunities. I feel like if the thrift stores did dry up completely and it stayed dry for a long time, I'd probably be looking into like buying an estate, out, because that's like, that could be a whole house full of stuff. You have to process that, but there'd be a different angle of work. Or
Yeah.
doing storage units. There's so many opportunities. I have not tried or have not done enough research to do online auctions, but that sounds like it works great for people. And
Yes.
that could be done almost anywhere, I would imagine.
Yes.
So,
And I actually put a few courses in my premium library about how I'm doing it, like
mm-hmm.
things I learned. Oh, don't do that again. Don't do that. Or this worked. So
Yeah.
as I'm doing it, I'm sort of, holding the door open for others. Like, here's what I learned. You can fast track this, because let me tell
Right.
you, if your thrift store is ever like you can't go, or bad
Mm-hmm.
weather, or whatever's happening,
Mm-hmm.
there's so much on those online auctions that people don't bid on.
Yeah, and you're telling me you're seeing good things, like, you find one thing that you can resell from that lot, but many times I think if it's all like in not visible, then other people will not see the value. And if it looks like I've got to get rid of some more stuff, I only want one thing, and they can't see the other pieces of value, just like a regular consumer person.
And one thing
But
I'm seeing, which is like, you got to be the smarter bear, is they don't title the items correctly,
that's
or the
interesting.
spelled words, or they don't know what to call something. So while it is a search feature, it's better to find either one near you that you can go pick up, or
hmm
however you're searching, and look through all of them, because
hmm
um, some of these folks don't even care what they call things, and it's not the right name.
Yes.
So if you're searching
Right.
for, Bakelite bangle bracelet or something, they might just call it chunky red bracelet.
Yeah.
Or,
Right.
you have to look, and I have found so many things that way, just,
Mm,
oh, that's not what this is, or that's totally spelled wrong.
yeah.
It's not going to
Right.
come up in a search. So,
Right.
it's like benefiting from the system, and you learn as you go. And that was an important lesson, is like, yeah, you can search for things, but they were calling handmade quilts, they were calling them blankets. Like, not even close. That's not, yeah, it's a blanket, but people are going to search for those handmade quilts.
Well, that's interesting you mentioned it. The cross stitch lot I bought on Facebook Marketplace, that good lot, she called it stitchery. She didn't call it cross stitch. She called it stitchery. So maybe that's an example of not titling it
Yeah,
correctly.
what are they going to say? I won something the other day. It was, you know what a bell pull is? It's like a
Mm,
long strip of fabric that can be very ornate. Back in the days where they would, like on Downton Abbey, where they'd pull the bell, and
okay.
it was a beautiful, uh, like sash looking thing,
Okay.
and it was all needlepoint.
Mhm.
It's like got fruit and stuff on it. It
Yep.
wasn't super elaborate, but
Yep.
they called it a thin tapestry. And I'm like, no, that is a needlepoint bell pull. Like I wouldn't have put that in. And so I won it
Right.
for like $5. Some of them sell for 100.
Oh my.
So I got to get it in my hands and see what the deal is. But
Right.
it's the kind of things I look for that they didn't call it the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I did put that on
Yes.
my search word list, because that's what I do is I go in and search for specific like doll clothing. It's very light.
Mm,
You can either sell it as a lot, you can part it out. I've sold some,
right.
and so it's very interesting to be exposed to different things.
For
But
sure.
just the whole abundance of stuff that doesn't even get bid on. I went it for $1.
Wow. That's
Crazy.
amazing. That's
Yeah, it
great.
is.
That's great.
Well, I think I've taken up enough of your time. It's probably either lunchtime or class time again over there.
Yeah, we'll probably try to hit the books a little bit before lunch.
One thing I did want to ask you is, what do you think top one or two factors that helped your business grow to this point over the last 2 years?
I would say the consistency of searching, because if I wasn't searching, I wouldn't find it. Like, not many things to show up at your front door to sell. Like, sure, you might find a free pile once in a while, but I think the consistency of going out and looking and having the listing consistency too. Like, just keep going. And when things are not looking good, because sometimes we'll have a day like, "Oh, nothing sold today." Sometimes that happens. Usually it's just a low dollar day if it's a bad day, but once in a while, I'll be like, "Oh, nothing sold." But not being discouraged and just keep going. Just keep going. This is, if you're in it for the long haul, like, I can't tell you how many times it's been like, "Oh, it's been terrible." And then it picks up again. And this will be our best year, I think, on eBay yet. This in the right now.
Sounds
So
like it.
yeah,
Yeah. So you're just using the little engine that could mentality. Just
probably. And
keep
also you
going, just keep going.
keep going, but also use the tools that are available. Because a lot of the stuff, I went to a community sale, and I think we got there just as the doors were opening to this estate slash yard sale, and they had a bunch of records, and I am not knowledgeable in records like at all. I know to look out for like rock records, kind of, but I'm not really good at it. So I just took Google Lens and I started like Google Lensing these records, and we came away with 30 of them that we thought would be decent or make a good profit, and I sold one for 130 like within the week. So that paid for the entire thing, but that's out of my comfort zone completely.
Right.
But I used the Google Lens and like, okay, this could be good. So use the tools that are available. There's so much. I feel like there's almost no excuse to, like, if you're a person with items, to not know the value. And if they're selling it at an undervalued price, um just don't feel bad about it. Like this person who was selling all these records, she didn't want them. They were her husband's. I think he had passed away and she didn't want them. But so use the tools that are available would be
Very good.
another tip.
Okay. Well, thanks again for spending time with me this morning to do this, and we will
you're
continue to watch you on the Facebook group.
you're welcome, Suzanne. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
And now for the last part, which I've been calling the thing at the end. And one of my listeners suggested I call it Suzanne's parting words. And I like that. So, my parting words this time is about a TED Talk. If you aren't familiar with them, TED Talks are short, educational presentations given by experts on a variety of topics, including science, culture, technology, entertainment, and design. Every day I listen to or read something about motivation, achieving goals, creating habits for success. And I usually do this at night as I'm winding down from the day, right before I go to sleep. And I found this talk really refreshing. The title is If You Want to Achieve Your Goals, Don't Focus on Them. And it's given by Reggie Rivers, who is a former Denver Broncos running back. He explains that goals are achieved by not focusing on the actual goal, but the actions and steps to get to your goal. The talk is only about 10 minutes long, and he tells a cute story about his childhood to make his point. And I felt this talk was relevant to eBay. If you're trying to build something or at least maintain it, you must focus on the actions to get there. And that's where a lot of people fall short is they don't take the correct actions. So anyway, it is a TED Talk titled If You Want to Achieve Your Goals, Don't Focus on Them. So check that out, something to listen to while you are listing your items. Next week, my guest is Mariah, who is somewhat new to eBay. She is a high school math teacher and has some great analytical perspectives. Don't worry, it isn't all math and numbers. Your head is not going to explode. But she's just naturally wired to focus on numbers and statistics. So the chat is rather eye-opening and you might learn something new. Alrighty, another episode in the books. Thank you for making this podcast a part of your week. I really appreciate all of you out there listening. And reach out to me anytime. My contact information is below the podcast. Talk to you next week. Bye for now.